All right, so here is the solution to HTML assignment number 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this text, and in fact, I think I'll just work inside this text file since all of the content I need is there. So I will just save this as, I'll change that to HTML assignment 2.html. Cool. Yes, I want to use HTML. Cool, so now it's an HTML document. Now I'm going to need all my HTML stuff, so HTML tab, that pulls that all in for me. Title, oh, what is the title? The title is HTML task 2, I can see at the top there. So my title is HTML task 2. And I just realized maybe I should put that in. Well, no, that's fine. You can type 2 words. All right, so HTML assignment 2. I think that's pretty clearly an H1 tag. I'm going to resize this back to regular size. So that's the regular size. Should be an H1 tag. So H1 tab. Now I'm going to drag this over to the end. So there's my H1. Instructions. It says down here it doesn't use H3 through H6. So instructions and hints are probably both H2s. So let's call this H2 tab. And put this closed tag on the end. And hints, we want this one to be an H2. Okay, so let's save that right now, and let's open that up. HTML 7.2, this is, here, not the solution, that would be poor. Let's open this up. There we go, cool. So sure enough, there's my HTML 7.2, there's my instructions, there's my hints. Okay, now splitting this up into 2 pieces is going to need something called a table. So let's figure out how to split our left from our right now. So let's search for Mozilla Developer Network table, MDN table. Cool, so this is a table. You'll notice it's not, I didn't actually click this because I know how tables work, but here we go. Okay, so HTML table element represents tabular data, that is information presented in 2-dimensional table composed of rows and columns of cells containing data. Okay, so I don't have a fancy header. I just need a table body with 2 different things in it. Okay, so let's see. We're going to have a table. Then inside there's a table head and a table body. And then inside the table body, looks like we've got this TR and TD. So let's take a look at all these things. What are TRs and what are TDs? What are T bodies? So permitted content in order. An optional caption, 0 more blah, optional T head. Okay, cool. So the fact that T head is optional means that's great. 1 or more, 0 or more T body elements, 1 or more TR elements. Okay, so this idea of 0 or more tells me that you don't actually need a T body. So you can have 0 T bodies. So I'm just going to try just a TR and see what happens. Okay, so then inside a TR, that's a TR. Inside a TR, there's TDs. I know I actually know what these are, but let's click into TR and see what it says. Maybe that'll tell us what to do. Okay, so HTML TR element defines a row of cells in a table. The row cells can then be established using a mix of TD, data cells, and TH, header cell elements. So here we go. So TD is our data cells. So if we go back to the last example, we can see that the table body with 2 columns, here we go, each of those gets its own cell. So putting all that together, what this means is this is one table data element. This is a second table data element, all inside of a table row, which is all inside of the whole thing is a table. Okay, so let's do that. So I need a table to start here and end at the end of my document. Okay, so there's my table at the end. I'm going to put that on a new line. And I'm going to start a new line here and tab all of this in. So this is just sort of a good structure to do. Oh, I just realized this should all be inside my body, shouldn't it? Okay, let's copy all of our stuff. Command X, put this inside of our body and try again. Okay, cool. Let's tab that all in. There we go, perfect. So now this is actually in the right spot in the document. Oh, that would have been embarrassing. Okay, so here's our table. Inside of our table, we need a table row. So this is my table row, and it ends here. And so I'm going to tab all of this in. And the reason I'm tabbing, if you highlight text and tab, this means that my table row starts here. I can easily see where my table row ends. And I'm going to do this again for my table data. So this table data ends right before hints. So let's tab this in inside of that table data, and then we'll do another table data. And we will move the close tag to the end, and then tab in our contents. Okay, so this should be a table, and inside the table there is a table row, and inside the table row we have one 2 table data elements. So let's save this and see if we have this 2 tab appearance now when we refresh. Boom, sure enough we do. That's great. Okay, cool. One thing I want to point out, by the way, you notice how in this document there are like lines here, new line here, new line here, new line here. If you notice right now, this is actually just all one big block of text. It just goes boom, 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 one into the other. And that's because HTML ignores all white space. And this is one thing I haven't talked about yet. If I had a whole bunch of spaces here and hit save, there should theoretically be a whole bunch of spaces there, but there aren't. And that's because HTML ignores all white space. All white space is collapsed down to a single character. So all these tabs, like I've got tab, 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 space, enter between here and here, or sorry, between here and here. All of those characters are just ignored by HTML. And it's just, it just goes right from the close quote right into the Y. Okay, so now hints. Let's go through. So let's go through our text. Your task is to recreate this page. Seems simple enough. So all of this is a paragraph. So let's make a paragraph and a close paragraph down here. So this is all inside my paragraph. And I want, after the exclamation mark, I want a new line. So let's put a BR tab there. After this exclamation mark, I want a new line, BR tab. After Google foo, I want a new line, so I'll try BR tab. Okay, so I've got break, break, break inside of a paragraph. Let's save this and see what it looks like. Ooh, okay, so a couple things. First of all, because there's this one massive paragraph here, it is automatically being resized to be super, super wide. We'll ignore that for now. Let's see if we can see what's done to our paragraphs over here. We're supposed to have a gap between here and here. And so this is where this hint comes in here. You will need to experiment with the difference between using 2 P elements and using BR inside of a paragraph. So there's actually 2 ways you could have done this. One way is you could say, oh, I need more space. So I guess what I will do is I will add another BR tab here, hit save, and sure enough, now you've got a gap there. There's another way you could do it though, and that's what I was hoping you would notice with that hint, is what you can do is you can end your first paragraph and start a new paragraph. And if you end a paragraph and start a new paragraph, that starts a new block line element, right? Each paragraph is a block line element in HTML, and that ends up looking almost the exact same. In fact, if we actually got out a ruler or something, we could figure out whether or not it's a new paragraph or just an extra break between those two. Actually, the original solution, I'll tell you, is I made a paragraph here and a paragraph here. But if you put an extra break in, that's fine too. All right. And we got some extra styling in here. I've got some italics. Now, remember what we talked about before with cascading style sheets versus HTML. If you remember way back, we want to keep our HTML around descriptors of the content, not how you should do it. So instead of using the italics tag, I'm going to use the emphasis tag, the EM tag. So it's around I have not taught you about. So EM tab, and I'll close my emphasis after the exclamation mark. And sure enough, when we refresh, I have not taught you about is in italics. Now, knowing your Google foo all needs to be emphasized, and Google foo needs to be bolded, which the description for that is strong. So let's take our, where is that Google foo? Here we are. So knowing your Google foo, so starting at knowing, I need an EM tag. And Google foo, we also need a strong tag. Yes, I do not want to purchase a blind text. So that's saving. Refresh. Knowing your Google foo. Perfect. And I think that's it. I think this last paragraph has no fancy styling. Okay, so now let's do this. This is an ordered list with 5 elements. So let's do that. So inside of our hints, we need an ordered list tab. And this ordered list ends here. And I'm going to tab this all in because that's... oops, I need a line break here. Line break here so that I can tab this in. Notice how it automatically tabs it in for me. That's because that's just good code. It makes your code really easy to read. And then each of these things should be LIs. So LI, and we'll put that at the end here. And let's just copy and paste. So copy there, 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 and there. And let's copy this close tag and put it there, 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 and there. Okay, so let's refresh. Perfect. We've got boom, 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 boom. Now, these quote characters are appearing correctly, or are appearing, but this is actually not what you're supposed to do in HTML. There's a special way you're supposed to do quote characters in HTML because quotes are sort of reserved text. Now, what happens is a lot of people make bad HTML. They make bad websites that don't actually follow the rules of HTML. And web browsers, modern web browsers, are quite good. They can actually figure out what you probably meant, even when you're breaking the rules. But let's try to do this properly. And let's Google how to put a quote character in HTML. How to use quotation marks in HTML. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, I don't want the inline quotation. I want the actual quotation mark. Special characters. So the reason, so you'll notice that I ignored this pop-up right here because I don't want an inline quotation block quote. Like, that is not what I'm looking for. I'm literally looking for a quote character. So knowing what to ignore in Google is a really important skill. So I'm glad this came up, actually. I do not want the inline quotation element. That's useless. I didn't even know that existed, actually, until right now. What I want, no, I don't want the quotation element. Special characters in HTML. Yes, I want the double quotation mark. Okay, so here are all the special characters in HTML, and I want a double quote. So I'm just going to Command F and search on this page, quote, right double quote. No, where's just a regular plain? Oh, that's funny. It's not actually here. Although, you know what, I kind of like this left double quote, right double quote. That looks much nicer than what I had. Let's do that. Let's do a left double quote and a right double quote. Okay. This isn't really answering my question though. So maybe you're still wondering, why do we need special characters in HTML? So why do we have special characters in HTML? In HTML, special characters are typically those that can't be easily typed into a keyboard or may cause display issues if typed or pasted into a web page. If you plan to use any of the special characters on a page, you should either use the HTML entity name or the HTML entity number. This seems like a much better website. In fact, we're talking about MDN, special characters, HTML. I wonder if there's a good site on the Mozilla Developer Network. Character encoding. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Anyway, sure enough. So this should be what we need. There we go. That's what I was expecting you to use. Quotation mark. Just the regular double quote. So what you do is you put in this text into your HTML. So if we go back to Sublime Text, this quote we replace with this thing that I just copied and pasted from Google. I guess we don't need that. Just a space would be fine. And then this one here we'll replace, and this one here we'll replace. And because modern web browsers are really bros that'll like fix your problems for you, it actually doesn't change how it's displayed. You can still see the double quotes regardless. But that's how you're supposed to do special characters in HTML. Long version aside, and I think that's it. Have we done everything? Oh, we've got some bolds to do. We've got some strongs, I should say. We need to strong this table, strong the P, and strong the BR. Okay, that's not too bad. Almost done. So this table, were the quotes bolded? Yes, the quotes are bolded. Okay, so I'm going to need to have a strong from before the quote to after the quote, and then P needed to be stronged. So let's put a strong before and after paragraph, and break. Break needs a strong before and after it. Hit save, hit refresh. Oh, hit refresh on my assignment. So let's see. This looks very similar. Okay, let's make this 1, 2, 3, 4 times bigger. Make this 1, 2, 3, 4 times bigger. So I can see, yeah, and when I tab between these two, there's absolutely no change at all. Speaking of, seeing how I'm going boom, 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 just like that, now we can actually take a look at that BR thing. If I go back into my Sublime Text and I change this close paragraph, open paragraph, and make it a BR instead, then we can see that it slightly changes the shape. So I don't know if, I probably don't care about that much of a difference, but you can see that it is a slight difference between having two breaks versus opening a new paragraph. So there we go. Undo and save, and now they're the exact same again. Okay, so that is your solution to your second HTML task.